Look, I don't mean to be critical, but you're doing happiness wrong. The way most people are doing happiness is they are trying to find the things that they want in life, a partner, a car, a house, a career, and they're trying to put these together and they're working really hard to get all these things into this package called a great life. And that is exactly the wrong way to do it. And the reason you know that is because most people you know are unhappy whether they admit it or not, and that's the way they're doing it. How do you do happiness properly? You put happiness first. Happiness has to come first. Why is attaining things and fulfilling your dreams not the way to get to happiness? Well, the main reason is because you are being run by your ego. The whole thing is a shell game. Your ego is saying to you, the reason you're working so hard, your ego is saying to you, if you get this, you will feel this way. That's basically the deal. If you get your dream career, you are going to feel so good about yourself that you're going to be happy forever, or you're going to make so much money that you're going to be kind of living free and independent. These are the promises the ego makes. I want you to understand one thing. The ego always promises and the ego never delivers. And all you have to do for proof, you don't have to take my word for it. I never want you to take my word for anything. What I want you to do is I want you to look at your past and I want you to look at all the things that you have accumulated already. All of them, all of the successes, all of the relationships. And I want you to look at your life and say, are you fulfilled? How do you feel about all those things? Now, for each one of those, before you achieve them, didn't your ego say, if you get this, you're going to feel this way? Did you feel that way? And if you did you only feel that way for a very short time? When you got the new car or the new job, how long did it feel before it felt like the old job? How long before you were griping under your voice after you got that job you were so excited about? So here the ego says, go get this, and you go get it and you feel unhappy and you never catch on. Okay, so that's the problem is these things aligning a life together and adding all these things together does not equal a happy life, because that's not how happiness goes. Happiness comes from inside. And so the better way to do this entire thing is to get happy first and then express that happiness out in the world in terms of your relationships and your career and your body and fitness and your home and your lifestyle and all of that. Be happy first, because then you know for sure you're not going to be happy, because probably you're out there grinding it out. You're not happy now, but you're working to get happy, right? That's the problem, is you're actually trying to follow misery to get happy. Doesn't work. What I tell you must do is you must follow happiness first. So the first thing you have to do is you need to get a morning regimen, right? And the reason you need a morning regimen, all successful CEOs, I think it's 90% of successful CEOs have a morning regimen. They're awake 3 hours before they go to work, so they have time to collect themselves. This is the most important thing a human being can do in order to be happy and to be successful. Both is to have a morning regimen where you connect with yourself, where you connect with something deeper. You can be going for a walk. You can be meditating. You can do two-way prayer. If you don't know what two-way prayer is, you can go look in my free community. We have workshops on different things like building successful habits, awakening your intuition. So if you want to learn how to do two-way prayer, go to my community, join it. It's free to join. It's called Unblock Your Brilliance. And there's a course in there, a 5-day challenge on how to awaken your intuition. And if you do the habits and the intuition together, and we sort of suggest a path there, you sort of get this sort of how do you build a successful habit, and you start by building this morning regimen if you don't already have one. So it's a great resource for you to start to do this, because you need to connect to your own deeper wisdom. You need that connection point, which is a direct tap into who you are. And depending on your beliefs about God or the universe, you tap into those deeper energies. And you start to live your life and you start to invite in a new intelligence. And that new intelligence will not only guide your life in a better way and have you make better choices, but it will also start to feel fulfilling. You will be there in the morning and you will walk out of that generally with this feeling of being connected. Okay? So now that you have that, And let's say you're doing this two-way prayer where you're writing to this deeper intelligence and you're asking it, what should I do with my life? What direction should I go? And so you start to detach from this ego that's running you around and trying to keep you in this state of chaotic energy just so you don't have to feel anything. Right? So the next thing that you do as you start to do this and as you start to calm down is you start to feel your feelings more. And the reason this is good to feel your feelings is because you have a lot of blocks inside of you. You have a lot of things that are preventing your happiness and your success. And so that's why we're talking about this in this way, because these things go hand in hand. When you're working with me one-on-one in a coaching scenario, or you're taking the free courses at Unblock Your Brilliance, we're always talking about success and happiness hand in hand. The happiness leads to success because now you feel good and you want to express your talents and skills and abilities in the world. Right? And this is how this works. So as you start to come in here and get this rich, deep clay in here, you start to craft a life that you start to feel good about from the inside out, not from the outside in which you're trying to get people to love you. Okay, so what happens next is you start to identify these blocks. You start to see your unhappiness more. And that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing, because most people are running from their unhappiness at 100 miles an hour. And in a lot of cases, a lot of your hopes and dreams are driven by this unhappiness. And that is the biggest setup for failure, because you cannot follow these desperate, child hurt voices inside of you to any kind of success, because you're not really dealing with their hurt and their pain. So you start to learn how to deal with these things. And you start to realize that this hurt part inside of you, and it's experiencing something like they don't love me, or nobody wants me, or I never get what I want, or some version of something like this. And you start to discover it's not true and it never was true. Yes, there's trauma inside of you that you're experiencing, but you start to see through it. And then you start to become increasingly freed. And as you learn how to do this, and this is what we teach at Unblock Your Brilliance, right? It's right there in the title, Unblock Your Brilliance. You get rid of the blocks, because here's the big news. You don't have to work that hard to be amazing, because you already are amazing. You just have these blocks, these wrong ideas, these lies about yourself that are covering up your amazingness, right? And so you don't have to try to hurdle yourself over them and pass them and try to claw your way to the top. No, you just have to get rid of the blocks, seeing through them, feeling your way through them until they're released, and then your life flows effortlessly. I just finished an interview with somebody who's been in Unblock Your Brilliance for about 7 or 8 months, and the freedom they're talking about, and maybe I'll put it in the link below, the freedom they're talking about is amazing. It's like, it's miraculous what can happen as you start to discover who you really are. And that's what's amazing, is you start to come home to yourself. You start to know who you really are. And here's the great thing, is you start to realize your inherent worth. And now you're not proving yourself to other people, and you're not clawing for their attention. Now, how do you think that impacts your relationships? It impacts them very well. When you're not grabbing onto somebody and insisting and demanding that they love you or that they take care of you, all of a sudden people want to be around you more. People enjoy your presence more. Right? It makes sense, doesn't it? Right? So this happiness flows from within. Now, as you're happy and you start to feel more confident, you start to feel more comfortable going out and doing things in your life, like fulfilling your dreams and finding that perfect mate. And do you think you're going to find that perfect mate more if you're reaching and grasping, or if you're relaxed and you feel comfortable in yourself? You see what I'm saying? If you start with happiness, there's a line in the Bible, which, not to get religious on everybody. If you're religious, that's great. And if you're not, that's great. But there's a line in the Bible which really speaks to this. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. This is what we're talking about in a spiritual, but in a less religious kind of way. We're talking about seek your inner joy and your inner treasures here. This is where heaven really is. And then you're going to express it in the world around you. And as you stay in this happiness, you are going to be doing the things that you've always wanted to do. And you're going to be seeing the blocks to them, and you're going to have a path and a way out. a way out of these blocks to start to really achieve the things that you want. So we're not asking you to just be in bliss and just be happy sitting on your yoga mat or knitting or whatever it is you're doing. We're saying you could be successful, but just do it from a place of happiness first. Happiness first, then success. Because you might get success, but there's no guarantee that that's going to add up to your happiness. So mark my words, you want to include happiness. You want to put that in the fine print of the contract right from the beginning. I insist on being happy today, right now, and continuing to acquire and do all the things that I want to do. So what I recommend is that you go down in the link description below and don't be silly. Don't pass up an opportunity. You can schedule a one-on-one coaching consultation with me, absolutely free, and I will help you see your blocks and we will get you started down this road to happiness, right? You have absolutely nothing to lose. And as some of the people in my group have discovered, you have an incredible chance at a totally new way of life. And doesn't that sound good? And this is not made up and it's not BS, because it's not totally easy. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but you really have to show up for yourself and listen and feel your way through these blocks. So it's not just this get rich quick thing. It's happiness really from the inside out. And if you feel a little too intimidated or whatever, believe me, my compassion is very deep and very strong. So if you sit across from me, you will feel that compassion and that unconditional love, because that's what I bring. That's what's opened up in me as a result of this. And believe me, you want that in your life. And if that's too much for you, come and join the free community and just poke around and see what's happening there and see the stories of people who are changing their lives for the better every day with happiness at the core of it. Okay. Look, we want you to be happy. That's the deal. And so even if you're not going to join me in this quest for happiness and go down these roads, please be happy on your own out there. Okay. Have a great one. Cheers.